Welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies. I'm your host, Jeff Crowley. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Hockenfels. And tonight we're going to be talking NCMC 100-year history. We're going to have Coach Gary Garner, coach of the TJC Pirates, Trenton Junior College at that time, 50 years ago, and Jeremy Esry, the current coach for the men's team for NCMC. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking basketball, but we're also kind of launching into Winter Olympics. It starts tomorrow, and the history of Winter Missouri Olympians is pretty short. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of downhill slalom champions who prepared on the slopes near Weston, although that was pretty cool when I was younger. Still, there is one Missouri Olympian competing in Italy this week. You want to talk about this guy?
Yeah, so, if you dig deep enough, you can find a sports legacy tied to the Olympics right here from Missouri. We have a Lee's Summit High School grad who was a track sprinter at Utah Valley State and quickly after found a career in bobsledding after he graduated in 2024. So Fernell is a Winter Olympian, and he's from Utah Valley State. And Fernell was also on the U.S. World Cup team. And he is a push athlete, so he will be, if you see him on any of the coverage, and he's there, he will be the one pushing the four-man bobsled and has a chance to even make the two-man bobsled. We've had guests on the program that have covered Olympics, and Olympics are a lot of fun. When you get home in the evenings and everybody becomes an instant curling or ice skating or bobsled fan, so it should be a good time.
Good time to watch Caleb Fernell from Lee's Summit, Missouri. Today's show, which goes back 100 years, goes back 50 years, thought in Olympic history and in sports history. Tell me what was happening in 1926. I know neither one of us were there. In 1976, I can speak to that a little bit. What nugget do you have to offer?
So let's dial back to 1926. What was in the sports headlines? 1926 was, first of all, highlighted by Gertrude Ederle, who became the first woman to swim the English Channel. So I'm pretty sure back in 1926, that was quite the feat. And
I preferred the channel.
Took quite the courage and, just determination to do that. But also, let's talk about the St. Louis Cardinals win their first World Series against the mighty New York Yankees. Bobby Jones in golf achieved the British and U.S. Open golf double, and Gene Tunney defeated Jack Dempsey for the world heavyweight boxing title. And back in 1926, heavyweight boxing was probably the most popular sport, if not baseball. So there's your flashback to 1926. What do you have going on in 1926?
Those 26 Cardinals were led by one Rogers Hornsby.
Don't forget the S on the Rogers, right? Great name, Hall of Famer, second baseman for the Cardinals himself, manager of the 26 St. Louis Cardinals.
And we've got a birthday coming up here. On February the 12th is the 100-year anniversary of the birth of one Joe Garagiola, who was born in St. Louis, childhood friend of Yogi Berra, the greatest baseball player to ever come out of the state of Missouri. And Joe Garagiola went on to quite a lot of fame as a broadcaster, as a catcher. It seems to be catchers like Bob Uecker and people like that turn into celebrities and broadcasters. Did a fine job at that, was part of the game. When I was growing up, watching him and Tony Kubek do the weekly games.
Right. If you watched baseball at all, the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, you heard Joe's voice on the national broadcasts, and he was a voice that brought a lot to the living rooms of the common baseball fan because of his knowledge being a catcher. And I think the catchers, with their insight, always make good announcers and color guys. Joe's a big name in baseball, so 100-year birthday, even though he's passed on, that's quite a monumental thing for the state of Missouri.
We've got another name here, and it's a name that might not immediately come to your mind, but his name is Jackson Schultz. Great sprinter, and he learned to sprint at the University of Missouri. He was a 3-year Tiger athlete, and he's one of the few to have won a gold medal in the Olympics. How do we know him? He's part of the movie Chariots of Fire.
Wow. What a legacy there.
He was the American sprinter. That was a key part of that movie. So if you saw Chariots of Fire, you saw the story of Jackson Schultz.
Wow. So not only do we have 1926, but let's look at the year 1976 because our guest upcoming on the show coached at NCMC 50 years ago. So let's see what was going on 50 years ago in the world of sports. The Montreal Summer Olympics had Bruce Jenner getting his decathlon gold medal. So that's interesting, and especially his name has been in the news in the last few years. The Winter Olympics were in Innsbruck, and the Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl that year. The Indiana Hoosiers had their perfect NCAA basketball season under Coach Bobby Knight. And Nadia Comaneci had a perfect 10 at the Olympics, and her name will be forever in the record books for that in gymnastics. And so we have some Olympics there, some pro sports with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and some NCAA with that perfect season in 1976 in Indiana.
Tonight, we're going to talk with Coach Garner. We're going to talk with Coach Esry and kind of celebrate the 100th year of North Central Missouri College, Trenton Junior College, and talk a lot of basketball, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Joining us tonight, we have Coach Gary Garner, and we're going to visit a rich era of basketball in North Central Missouri Pirate basketball, which was TJC, Trenton Junior College at that time. Started in the mid-50s, hit another gear in 1971 when Gary Garner was hired to lead the program. This era produced 95 wins versus 47 losses in a time of extremely competitive basketball in Missouri. Coach Garner grew up and attended school in West Plains, Missouri, where he was two-time All-State guard. He went on to play at the University of Missouri, averaged over 11 points a game over his 3-year career, 65 games, was hired in 1971 to come to Trenton Junior College. He spent time here until 1976. He spent a year at Missouri Southern State College before becoming the lead assistant to legendary coach Norm Stewart at the University of Missouri from 1977 to 81. He never quit coaching until 2023. Along the way, he coached at Drake University, Fort Hays State University, where he won a Division II national championship in 1996 and was the NABC Coach of the Year honors for that year. He was at Southeast Missouri State and capped his career with 14 years at Dakota State, an NAIA program in Madison, South Dakota. At the end of the counting numbers, they show 562 college wins and over 50 years shaping programs and the lives of his players, and we want to welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies, Coach Garner. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, it's really good to be here.
We're happy to talk to you, and we're happy that Jeremy's with us to do that, and some basketball coaches here. I have the smallest resume of the group included here, but I am a junior high boys basketball coach for the past 6 years at Trenton, and I've coached some girls travel ball, and I love basketball my whole life. So we're going to talk some basketball. So we've titled this podcast, Family First, Then Basketball, and that's from a quote that you had late in your career where they were talking about your battle with cancer and you're coming back to the game of basketball to coach again. Tell us how your love of basketball began in West Plains. What was it about basketball that appealed to a young Gary Garner?
As far back as I can remember, from 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, I started playing basketball and just loved it from day one. And then I had a high school coach that I thought was the greatest coach that ever lived. And he was a great motivator and a great coach. And so he was one that was very, very instrumental in me becoming a basketball coach. I still, when I stopped coaching a couple of years ago, I was 80 years old then, I still used a lot of his terminology. And so that was my high school days. And then I had Coach Venata at Missouri and then Norm Stewart. I was his graduate assistant. And then when I came back as his assistant, he's probably the number one guy as far as learning about college basketball and how to run a program.
Okay, so I want to take you back to that West Plains time just a minute. I'm going to make this statement. I don't know that you ever coached for a team that had a better mascot name than the West Plains teams.
You don't know how many times over the years I've been teased about that and been asked, what's a zizzer? What's a zizzer? My only answer I would come up with, well, if you don't know what it is, you probably can't beat it.
I love it. And I'll tell you what else it is. It's a mascot nobody else has. So when you walk into the gym with the zizzers across your chest, you're the only one that's got that, as opposed to some schools that have, multiple bulldogs and tigers all over the place. In Missouri, only one zizzers.
That's correct. When I was playing at Missouri University, we would have zizzer parties. And everybody, wondered, well, what's a zizzer? So.
I love it. Now,
that's good.
Now, you were a very natural basketball player, but you were not a tall player, not a big player.
No, I was 5'11", 5'11 and a half. I always wanted them at Missouri to call me 6 feet tall, but they never would.
Now,
I was somewhere around 5'11", 5'11 and a half. So anyway.
So we talk about that a lot, and Jeremy, we've talked about this, that youth development of skills. You've got to have that skill set when you're. And Jeremy played college ball. He played here at North Central, played at Central Methodist. He understands that it was his skill set, not his overwhelming athleticism.
No. No, not at all. And yeah, if you can play, you can play. And I'm sure you got developed. Like you said, your best coach was your high school coach, and he taught a lot of good skills for you.
He did. My high school coach wasn't only good at developing players, but he's so good at the mental part of it. He really was a motivator to get you to work hard and play harder and let you know how good you could be if you would work as hard as you could be. And he always let you know that you can be better than you ever thought you could be.
Yeah, that's something. That's a key right there, is how to instill that in players and get them to believe that.
And I would bet that a lot of coaches, when you ask them, who's your first inspiration, who's the person that's first taught you about the game, they're going to come back to their high school coach. We've all got stories, or at least I know I do, great stories of my high school coach who taught me the game and taught me how to play the game and how to instruct the game. And those things last forever, because I'm doing a little coaching now, just a little bit to help a team. Those things come out, those same terminology and drills and things that you were taught when you were 14, 15 years old seem to stick around for a long time if you're into basketball, and then they get taught at an early age. That sounds like, you were motivated just like a lot of people by your high school coach.
No question about it. Coach Peters wasn't only a great coach and a great motivator, he was the meanest man in the world, too. And I don't guess there's anybody today that I have more respect for than him. Now, he's passed on, but I just had tremendous respect for him.
Coach, you were familiar with my coach, my uncle, Ed Weisenbach, coached at Gallatin up here at the same time that you were.
Yeah, you betcha.
And he once told me that I did a great imitation of a tree in a game. Apparently I wasn't moving enough. And so he was good at getting you redirected. And when you were a member of his family, you better pay attention. Or I wouldn't get much playing time out on the floor.
Well, the stories that you remember sometimes aren't the prettiest in the world, but I'll never forget Coach Peters telling me once in high school, I drove into the basket and they surrounded me, and I think I threw it away, and he stopped and he said, "Now, Gary," he said, "what are you going to do when you get in there? Peel it and eat it?"
Now, you guys had some success, though. You didn't hardly ever lose on your home floor. And your junior year, you finished third in the state, and you played a pretty famous basketball player in that third place game.
Yes, we did, Bill Bradley, and he was a great player. And we were fortunate to beat him, but he, as you well know, he went on to be a great player in the NBA with the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I was a big Knicks fan when I was a kid, and I knew that he was the highest scoring player in Missouri high school basketball history until I think Billy Roundtree broke that record in the 80s. But he scored 29 points in that third place game, so he showed out pretty good, but you had 26.
Yeah.
And the win.
And the win.
Yeah. And the win, yeah.
It's nice to get that sportsmanship trophy you guys got that year, but it's better to get that third place win.
No, a win's a win.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, I'm going to read you a game account from your senior year, okay?
Okay.
And this game account, it was in the West Plains paper, and it says, as cool as a man with ice water in his veins, the sharpshooter made 9 of 11 set shots from more than 20 feet from the basket. It had a discouraging effect on the Springfield team. So you beat a good team from Springfield that night. But talk about that. I mean, set shots, we don't see too many of those these days. But 9 out of 11, we don't see too much of that either. That's pretty outstanding.
Well, I don't know really that I ever shot a set shot, but I didn't jump very high, so they probably thought I was shooting a set shot.
Hey, and if those shots were really 20 feet from the basket, we might as well add 9 more points, because those are 3-pointers in today's game, and you would have got an extra point.
Yeah, I've thought about that before, because I did have a little range, and I would have averaged a few more points. I said, I wish they'd have had the 3-point play when I played.
Now listen to this line, Jeremy. Tell me if you'd like this on your team. At 36 points, 17 of 23.
Yeah, we need that. We would take that night in and night out. That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty efficient offensive basketball.
Yeah, I wish I'd had some of my players that I coached shoot that well.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. So you were a 2-time All-State player, and then you went to the University of Missouri. What got you to Mizzou? I mean, what was the attraction? Who was scouting you, and how did you make that path to Mizzou?
Well, I was really thinking more about going to Missouri State, because my brother-in-law was playing and starting for Missouri State, and he was married to my sister. And so he was putting a little pressure on me there. But then there was a man in West Plains named Eddie Richards that played with Norm Stewart when he played at Missouri. And he came out to the house and spent some time talking to me 2 or 3 different times. And then I visited Missouri, and Sparky Stalkup was the head coach then, and I just really liked him. And so, after the visit, I committed.
So I noticed that you progressed each year, and by the time you were a senior, you finished 7th in the Big 8, 15 a game in the Big 8. Big Eight was pretty good conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very good conference. Kansas and Kansas State were the 2 dominant teams then. Well, Kansas is still a dominant team in the Big 12, pretty much. My worst memory about Missouri was I missed a shot at Kansas to win the game. Every once in a while, I'll still think about that.
So after graduating, did you know you were going to be a coach? I mean, was that what you were aimed at? What were some of the things you contemplated?
Well, I didn't know whether I was going to coach or not. I got a degree in business and a degree in education. I was a dual major. But then Kemper Military Academy called me at the junior college. And, it was a high school and junior college in Boonville, Missouri. Anyway, they called, and I went up and took the job. I was only 23 years old, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I tried to coach there anyway.
That's how you learn. You throw yourself.
How long were you at Kemper, Coach?
I was there 4 years. That's where I met my wife. That was the biggest mistake I ever made. And I'm still married to her 55 years later.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations. And that's pretty neat.
So she went for a ride with you to a lot of different towns.
There's no question about it. I say this in so much sincerity. She has been the greatest basketball or any coach's wife that's ever lived. I mean, she followed me everywhere, and the players would call her Mama Garner, and, always giving her a big hug, and she was always doing something for them. So
they are special people. That is for sure.
Yeah, and she was really a big part of our success.
So tell me what got you to Trenton, Missouri, and Trenton Junior College.
Well, I really have trouble remembering that. I just remember the job came open, and I checked on it, and I was working. Norm Stewart was having his basketball camps in Boonville at Kemper Military Academy. I remember asking him, I said, would you call Trenton Junior College and tell him I'm a good coach?
Lie if you have to. Lie if you have to.
Yeah. And he did, and I got the job. But we had played them for, 2 or 3 different times. And I think we went to a tournament at Trenton Junior College. And I remember we played Moberly Junior College when I was at Kemper in the Trenton Junior College tournament. And they beat us like 120 to 50 or something like that.
Ooh.
So, those kind of losses you don't forget.
Sure don't.
So you get to Trenton, and what were the mechanics of that with the high school? They had a new high school and the gym and gym time and practice time. I mean, how did you navigate all that?
Well, it was kind of tough at times because, we played in the high school gym, and of course they had their practices for their varsity and junior varsity. So we had to work our practices around their practices. And so we just practiced in their gym anytime we could. A lot of times we got it from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was good. But I had to make sure that my players' academic schedule got through in time. That was something we just had to kind of work day by day.
I got a question about the recruiting environment, because as I was remembering those times back in the 70s, it was pretty normal for junior college players to end up at the University of Missouri, Kansas State. But there were a lot of quality players using the junior college route. And was that motivated partly by grade issues, or was it just refinement of talent that got them?
Well, I think it was more grade issues. You were always looking for a player, a Division I player, didn't have the grades to go Division I, but could go junior college. And we were fortunate to get one during all that time. His name was James Claiborne, and he was really a good player. 6'8" kid from St. Louis that went on to play for Missouri University.
He was a very successful player.
How'd you guys find him, Coach?
I really don't remember. I just remember we had a couple of old school station wagons that I would get in them and drive to St. Louis to see him. And sometimes I'd stay overnight and stayed at the Motel 6 all the time because it was just $6 a night then. And so, but it recruited him really hard, But he was a good player, a really good player, and really a good guy, too. And then he went overseas and played several years, maybe 20, but played several years.
Yeah, I think he was over there a long time.
Yeah, he was. He was over there a long time.
Have you had some connection with him lately?
Yeah, I got to. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
Not really recently. Usually I talk to him I don't know, 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years. But I haven't talked to him in a while. I think he was planning on coming tomorrow until he found out I couldn't come down. And so I don't think he's coming now.
Yeah, I don't think so. I got to talk to him a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, just an awesome individual. And he said he had a lot of really good Trenton stories and a lot of really good Coach Garner stories. We talked for probably over an hour about it. I don't think he's going to be able to make it now, but he was certainly excited to get to see you and Jackie and all those guys. Hopefully we can get that reconnected sometime. We'd love to have
Jackie Payne was a 5, 8, or 9 kid, but he was really a good little player.
That's what we've heard. Yeah.
He played hard and played to win and could score.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed coaching him.
You had another guy named Russell Bland that was a local kid.
Yeah,
turned out to be pretty good.
He wasn't too bad. I said I only had one Division I player, but Russell was definitely a Division I player. He went to Creighton first and then transferred back to Trenton. I was there. And then when he graduated from Trenton Junior College, Iowa State was recruiting him pretty hard. And this is kind of an interesting story, but Russell went with me to Missouri Southern. And the Iowa State coach at that time, I won't give his name, but he was pretty upset about it all. He called me and read the right act to me, but Russell went with me to Missouri Southern.
I'd say that's a pretty good get. That's a pretty good get for you.
Great get. Now, he was definitely a Division I player.
Now, did he just show up after Creighton, or did you have to do a little recruiting?
No, I had to do a little recruiting, but I think it was it was his hometown, and I think he kind of wanted to come back there, and I think he wanted to go to junior college to see what was out there.
Yeah.
Coach, I wouldn't sweat it because these days with NIL and the transfer portal, kids are going everywhere every year. So, you just got a jump ahead on that back then. So no worries.
I know it. And of course, his brother, Randy Bland, wasn't quite as good a player as Russell. He was still an important player for us. He was a good defensive player and rebounded extremely well. And, he just wasn't as talented offensively as Russell.
Yeah, we've heard some. Now, I heard Randy against Mobley. There was 1 year. I think you had to go to him. I think Russell was hurt and James was hurt. And the way Randy says it, he might have been the last option, but I think he had over 30 for you.
Oh, I don't remember exactly how many points he had, but he had one heck of a game.
Nice.
I mean, he had a great game. And he didn't play that much, but boy, that game. And Mobley was a national power then.
Yeah.
Well, either he had just left or he might have been there, but Cotton Fitzsimmons was the coach there, at least maybe in that spell, but maybe not quite in the early 70s. But in the 60s, I remember Cotton Fitzsimmons was the coach there. Do you remember that at all?
Oh, sure. I remember Cotton Fitzsimmons well. Yeah, he was a very successful coach at Moberly. I know Rich Daly was the head coach at Moberly when we played them, that he went on somewhere, and then he wound up being one of Norm Stewart's assistants.
Yeah, I remember Rich Daly, and I remember some other names. And there were a lot of great coaching names in Missouri at that time that were moving through different places. Charlie Spoonhour, Larry Holly, people like that.
Yeah, Gary Filbert.
Yeah.
Charlie and Larry were both really good friends of mine.
Nice. Nice.
Jameson, Missouri, shout out, was a hotbed of producing coaches with hundreds and hundreds of wins in that town.
Coach Holly's from
Yeah. I've always heard great things about Coach Holly, and I always enjoyed Coach Spoonhour, and I always thought he was a fun after the game interview almost every night.
He's one of the funniest guys I've ever known. We would, up until just a few years ago, we would have a golf outing in Missouri, and it was just mainly old junior college coaches. Norm Stewart would come over, and Bill Barton from
Bill,
State Fair, and Oh, there was 10 or 12 of us. It started out with just 5 or 6 of us, then it wound up with 20 or 30. But we'd go every year and go down on Friday, I guess, and play golf, and then play golf on Saturday, and then everybody went home. But we had a great time.
Oh, I'm sure there's some really good JUCO stories in that mix. And there's some
Dale Pemberling,
yeah,
who coached at Trenton Junior College, was always there.
Was he a part of it? Yeah. I've heard some good Dale Kimberly stories too. You know, he talked about the getting in the station wagon, going to St. Louis. I think Kimberly would get a van and go to Chicago and all that. And I've heard some really good stories about him.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Jeremy started recruiting in that St. Louis area and spreading out a little bit and getting into some of those old Penn Valley gets up here sometimes.
Yeah, we haven't got a Clay Johnson yet, but he was pretty dang talented, wasn't he?
Clay Johnson was a senior at Missouri my first year as assistant coach at Missouri.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and boy, he was a good player.
Good player. Coach, he is still, actually saw him last night. He's an assistant coach at Metropolitan Penn Valley still for Marcus Harvey. And I think, so he's still around the game, and he looks like he can still play.
I'm sure.
He looks like he looks like he can still play and shoot it. And then Coach Harvey, but was Clyde at Missouri as well?
No, he wasn't there when I was there.
I got you.
But going back to Clay, I'll never forget, he hit a shot at Iowa State on the baseline to win the game.
Oh, wow.
Of course, he had a lot of great plays for Missouri, but that's one shot that he won the game for.
Yeah.
Talk about, what was your coaching style, Coach, when you were a young coach? You got past that first gig and got your feet on the ground. What kind of coaching style? What was Coach Garner's style?
My high school coach and then Norm Stewart, they both coached a lot alike. They were both all man-to-man defense and very aggressive and very physical. And so I tried to be a lot like those guys, or that's where I got most of my background anyway. And then, of course, both of those guys were really good in half-court offense. So we tried to break with the ball, but we weren't what you'd call a really fast-breaking team. Tried to really execute, not turn it over. There was 3 things or 5 things, 2 offensively and 3 defensively. And they were rebound the ball, get back, and don't foul on defense. And then don't turn it over and don't take bad shots on offense. Now, if you can get that all done, you're going to win every game. But we tried to.
We try to preach that every day, Coach. So we try to preach that, yeah.
One of the things that we always talk about, and I wonder what it was like back in the 70s, is Jeremy gets pretty full crowds on cold winter days, and that crowd helps lift his team, and there's some points in the game where you feel that energy, and the other teams don't always have that in their home gyms. What was the support and community support like for your program?
Well, when we first went there, if we had 100 people at the game, we were very, very fortunate. Mm-hmm. But as each year went by, the crowds got better and better, and the last couple of years we had really good crowds.
Yeah,
I look back on Trenton as just a great experience and very, very fond memories. I can't get off here without mentioning the administration, because there was a great administration. There were 4 great guys. And Dr. Bill Ray was the president, and Ed Geyer was the dean, and Bill Osmus was there, and then Mr. Russell. Only older people will remember those guys, but they were 4 great individuals and great administrators.
That almost sounds like a Mount Rushmore of Trenton sports administrators right there. Those names you just threw out there. I'm assuming you mean C.F. Russell. Yeah, his name is on the football stadium right in the middle of town, and Geyer's got his name on the biggest building in town, and so they've left behind great legacies just like you have.
Yeah, they were great people to work for, and they treated me about as well as anybody could be treated. And of course, I can't get off here either without mentioning a guy that was one of my best friends ever. He's passed on now, but his name was David Ryan, Dr. Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a great supporter and turned into one of my very best friends.
Another pillar of the community in Trenton for a long time.
Absolutely. He's a great guy.
We miss Doc Ryan, that's for sure.
We do.
Yeah.
We do indeed.
I got to tell a quick story
We want to hear
Please
it.
do.
on Dave, on Dr. Ryan. We were playing that junior college game that you guys brought up with Russell couldn't play and Randy Bland played. And we had an altercation that, well, the Moberly player was accused of punching Randy. And the next thing I know, Dr. Ryan's down on the floor. You know? and he was such kind of a laid back guy. It's something you'd really never expect of him, but he was really a great supporter and a great friend.
And he's just trying to keep the peace, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, let's this way. He didn't like Moberly very much after that game.
I'm sure not.
So tell us the story about you go to Missouri Southern, you take a great player with you, and he goes on to score almost 1,300 points in a couple of years down at Missouri Southern. But you had some kind of arrangement. You didn't stay there very long, so there's a story behind that.
I was just there 1 year. I really felt bad about that with Russell because, you know, I naturally when I went there or took the job, I thought I'd be there, you know, more than 1 year. And then, you know, Norm Stewart offered me the job. And that's just, if you're looking to climb the ladder in the coaching profession and take care of your family better, that was the only decision you could make. But a guy came in after me that was really a good basketball coach, Chuck Williams, played at Missouri State, and he was really a good coach and a good guy. So I felt better when he got the job.
Certainly don't blame you there, Coach. Certainly don't blame you. Now, let me ask you, the best shooter you had at Missouri Southern, who would that have been?
Oh, gosh, I had 2 or 3 of them. I can't think. Have you guys got anybody in mind?
Well, at every family reunion I've been to of mine, Johnny Cochran says he's the best. So Johnny's my second cousin, and it speaks, of course, well of you and all that stuff. And
he may have been.
No, I don't. I'm making all that up. I just wanted to throw Johnny in there and all that stuff. So Johnny wanted to say that, but I just wanted to see, you know. So, yeah, Johnny. And then we still see him. He's a big Moberly supporter, and we still see him. He'll see Russell every once in a while and all that stuff. So I think they had that bond from you going down there with Russell and Johnny being there.
So you started working with Norm Stewart, and you knew him a little bit. So you got to have some Norm Stewart stories. I mean, I'd be remiss if I do a podcast and I don't ask you for a Norm Stewart story.
I've got so many Norm Stewart stories that, I mean, he was an awesome coach, awesome person, one of the funniest people you'll ever meet in the world. One of the greatest competitors I've ever known. And I don't know where to begin in telling stories. We were playing the University of Colorado out there. And this fan up in the stands, probably 6 or 8 rows behind our bench, was just on Norm something awful. And the language even he was using was bad. And so Norm had some gum in his mouth, and he took it out of his mouth and threw it up to him and said, "Now, chew on this for a while." But then at halftime, we're going to our dressing room, kind of up a tunnel, and this guy's following us, still cussing and hollering at Norm. And Norm turned around, and if you know Norm, you know, he can be a little feisty at times. And, you know, he was going toward him, and I grabbed him and said, "Norm, get out of here. Let's just win the game. You know, one of your jobs as assistant is to protect the head coach in any situation like that." And so I grabbed him and kind of pushed him a little toward the dressing room. And I said, "Let's just win the game. Don't worry about that idiot." And then to hear Norm tell it, he gets up the hallway and turns around. And there I am going after that guy. So he comes back.
That's a great assistant right there.
Pulls me off of him. And anyway.
That's great.
So let's see, Colorado, would that have been Sox Walseth?
Yeah, Sox Walseth was there. That's right.
That's a name drop of all name drops.
Yeah, there
Jeff.
you go.
You get 10 bonus points. 10 bonus points to Jeff.
Yeah, boy, that is Jeff. That's a long time ago.
Well, that was the only game in town was that Raycom broadcast with Jay Randolph and Gary Thompson.
Gary Thompson, yeah. You know, he played at Iowa State, and he and Norm played against each other. And he was a great player, too.
One of my
They were both All-American. Norm was All-American at Missouri, and Thompson was All-American at Iowa State.
One of my favorite players at Colorado who played for the Kings later was Scotty Wedman.
Oh, I didn't play or coach against him, but I remember him well. He was really a good player. He was about 6, 7, or 8, wasn't he?
Yeah, I fancied myself like him, only I was 5 inches shorter, so yeah, it didn't quite work out, but shooting those baseline jumpers and handling the ball. So there were some great players in that time. And so you had some involvement in recruiting some great players to Missouri. Who were some of the people that you really were in on early?
There were a lot of good players, but John Sunville and Steve Sapanovich, who were both first-round draft choices. And in fact, Steve was the second player drafted in the first round after Ralph Sampson.
Wow. Yeah.
And so those were the 2 players that stand out, first of all. But Greg Kavner from Springfield, he was another one. And Lex Drum from Poplar Bluff. I failed to mention several, but can't think of them right now. I'm getting old.
That's all right. Okay, talk about you wanted to run a program and you get hired up at Drake after being with Norm for 4 or 5 seasons. So
that's right. I went to Drake and started out really good up there. We had some success, took the team to the NIT, and then it kind of leveled off a little bit and had a 14-14 year. A new president came in, and he changed coaches in about every sport. But Drake's a great university, and I enjoyed all my time there.
And so there were some great players. I mean, I'm going to throw some names out here at the time that you went to Drake at Wichita State, particularly.
Oh, my goodness. You would have to bring up Wichita State. They had 4 first-round draft choices in the years that I was at Drake. And it was really, they were really good. They were nationally ranked, usually in the top 10.
Yeah, Antoine Carr, Cliff Livingston. There were some beasts out there.
Who was the coach then?
Gene Smithson.
Gene Smithson was the coach. Bradley had some great players too. Hershey Hawkins, I don't know whether you remember Hershey or not. Kind of a couple interesting stories there. There was 1 second left on the clock, and we were 1 up at home. And they had the length of the floor to go. And they threw the ball the length of the floor almost to the baseline. He caught it in the air and turned and shot and made it.
Oh, wow.
But later the same year, we were at Bradley, and we had the ball at the other end, and we're down 1. And we threw the ball the length of the floor, and my kid caught it in the air and laid it in right under the basket. So we got back at him.
Wow, that is great.
That's good stuff. You had a run there for several years, and then left there. And when did Fort Hays State come into the picture?
Yeah, I have a very special feeling for Fort Hays State because that's where we had the most success. We won several conference championships, but we won the national championship, and it was an undefeated national championship, and we won 49 games in a row.
You can't do better than that.
No. I remember watching that game on TV, Coach. My dad set me down and said, hey, this guy coached in Trenton before, and we were watching that national championship game, and I was 10, 11 years old, but it's something that will always be ingrained in me, and watching you guys win that was pretty special.
Yeah. Back to when I was at Drake, Eddie Bird, that's Larry Bird's younger brother, was playing for Indiana State. And it's right toward the end of the game, and there's a loose ball. And anyway, make a long story short, there was one heck of a fight. I mean, both benches emptied, and it was one of my best players was, he was tough. 6'6", big, strong kid. Sam Roark was his name. And I knew if he got out there and got a hold of somebody, he's liable to kill him. So there's a picture of me. I tackled him. So anyway, I think there was 2,000 technical fouls called. We won the game, so that's one thing I remember.
Yeah. To be fair, if you're Eddie Bird and you got to live your whole life as the brother of Larry Bird, I'd be mad all the time too.
Now, I don't know whether you guys can remember this or not, but they called it the shot heard around the world. We were playing, no, it was Tulsa, University of Tulsa, and Nolan Richardson was there, was their coach then.
Yep.
And we're on the free throw line, and we're either 1 up or tied, and we're shooting the free throw with just a few seconds left on the clock. And my kid shoots the free throw, and one of my guys and their guys go up, and they get he misses the free throw, and both of them get their hands on the ball. And my kid jerks the ball so hard, it hits the floor with backspin and goes in the basket and they win.
Oh,
I mean, it was just, it made national news. We were on television everywhere for that shot. Yeah. Of course, Nolan wasn't very happy.
yeah. You coached against some great names. I mean, that's
there were some really, the Nolan Richardsons and the Gene Smithsons. And the best coach maybe I ever coached against, though, was Bob Donewall at Illinois State. He was an assistant for Bobby Knight when they won the national championship in 1976. And
referenced earlier on our podcast.
Yeah. And he was a great coach, boy, and a good guy. We became best friends. And the scores were always really low when we played. I remember one of them was 50-49, and that was at home. We won that game. We didn't always beat him now, though. But I remember that game well.
That conference was just deep, and it was just like everything was a family battle, it seemed like, those rivalries.
Yeah, Wichita State, Tulsa, Creighton. Of course, Willis Reed coached it at Creighton while I was at Drake, and Benoit Benjamin. He played at Creighton. Now, here's a good story. We're playing Creighton. It may be the last game of the season. I'm not sure. We're playing them at home. And they had Benoit Benjamin, who was a first-round draft choice, like 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th in the first round. And we beat him by 49 points. And I forget the name of the guy, and I know his name, but I can't think of him. He was coaching the Atlanta Hawks then. And the draft round was coming up, and he called me, and he said, Coach, he said, tell me about Benoit Benjamin. And so I started telling him all the good things about Benoit Benjamin. And he said, now, wait a minute, Coach. Your team was good, but they weren't that good, and you beat them by 49 points. Now, can you tell me anything else?
You wouldn't know how you stopped them.
No, they wound up not drafting him, but he was in NBA for many years, but he jumped from team to team to team.
He went third overall to the Clippers that year.
Oh, is that right?
That's right. 85 draft.
Yeah, your memory's better than mine.
Well, it's not. I just have a cell phone in my hand, so I can just Google it.
So I was just going to say something about go back to your Fort Hays State experience. You were the NABC Division II Coach of the Year in 96. And then I was just going to point out the guy that won the year before you was a guy named Bruce Pearl.
Sure. He was at Southern Indiana, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Of course, in this area, Ben McCollum is well known, and Iowa coach now and very successful. And at Northwest, he won it about 5 times. So, I mean, that's a big award. Yeah. So that must have been something.
Yeah, that was when we won the national championship, that was my next to last year at Fort Hays State. And we actually had a better team the next year because they were basically all back. Mm-hmm. We went 32-2, but got upset South Dakota State was a Division II school then. And we got upset up there. I really felt like we were the best team in the nation and would have won too. And there's some stories that I don't want to talk about that game and the officiating and stuff. But
we've all got those. I'm with you.
Not one of my fondest memories because I really felt like we won that game. The bad thing about it was here we've been number one in the nation. We were number one in the nation the whole year, and we had to go to South Dakota State to play in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So that's always kind of been a sore spot for me.
Hey, Coach, the coach of the Atlanta Hawks in 1985 was one Mike Fratello.
That's right, Mike Fratello.
That's right, who ended up having a long NBA career and then a long NBA analyst career.
Czar.
Calling games, the czar right there. Yeah. So there you go. Nice. Yeah, also not from my memory bank, but from Google.
Coach, what conference were you guys in at Fort Hays State?
It was the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. They now are in the MIAA.
Yes. So you parlayed that success. You end up over at Southeast Missouri State. So back in the state of Missouri.
Right. And that couple of interesting stories there. We had quite a bit of success early there, my first 4 or 5 years. And I had a chance to go to the Chicago Bulls and be their assistant in charge of their offense because I ran the triangle offense. And Tex Winters, who invented it, was the Bulls offensive guy. And they wanted to continue to run the triangle offense. And so Tex was going to stay a year, and I was to be under him for a year and then take over as offensive coach. And like a dummy, I turned that down. And then a couple of years later, I had a chance to go to Colorado State as head coach. Like a dummy then, I turned that one down. So a lot of my coaching friends have said my IQ was below zero both times.
Who wants to coach the Bulls in that era anyway? I mean, what do they got going on?
Well, it was when I was offered the job, Phil Jackson had just left the Bulls, and they brought Tim Floyd in.
Oh, yeah.
And so I knew Tim, and
he coached at Iowa State. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That one was from my memory.
Yeah. He was a good guy and great coach. I talked to him about a month ago, but that's another place I probably should have gone.
You had that one shiny moment, as they say, in March with Southeast Missouri, where you were co-champs of the OVC Ohio Valley Conference.
Yeah, right.
And you won the tournament and got them into the tournament for the first time in a while.
Well, it's the first time. It was the first time they'd ever been in it.
Wow.
They've been in it one time since.
Yeah,
I think
2 years ago, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
My wife is sitting here listening.
We love it.
And she said, tell them the Murray State story. Of course, Murray State was in the Ohio Valley,
yeah.
And I believe it was my first year at Southeast Missouri State. And this one official, apparently he and I just didn't get along very well. But anyway, he called a technical foul on me, and I went out on the floor, and he told me to get back to the bench or be another technical. And I told him I wasn't leaving. And anyway, he said he was going to call a technical for every step it took for me to get back to the bench. Well, that's when I said, well, I'm not leaving. I'm staying here. And finally he said, Coach, you just get back to the bench and, I won't call another technical. So I got back to the bench.
You negotiated that well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, when you were a head coach in college, counting my junior college years and everything, almost 50 years, you've got some stories now.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm holding a picture, and I know you can't see this, but this is a picture, and I'm going to share it with Jeremy and see if he can interpret this picture. Now, I'm going to tell you that in this picture, your arms are folded. The referee has his hands gesticulating something to you, and you're both talking out of the side of your mouth like you don't want people to see what you're saying. And Jeremy's looking at it now. So, Jeremy, have you ever put that pose? Is that pose? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that official is 100% wrong. And, and
Well,
Coach Garner.
That's another coach talking.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I would almost call that posture that Coach Garner has in that the Jeremy. I mean, that we should call that the Jeremy because I've seen that from you quite a few times.
Folded
Arms folded, kind of talking. You don't want to look them in the eye, and you kind of want to be leaving so they can't call a technical on you.
Yeah, walking away a little bit. That's a good picture. Yeah,
it is a good picture. You look like you're a little feisty at that point.
You've got to get that move down good, where you say something you shouldn't say to the official, but just before it all gets out of your mouth, you walk away.
Right.
Yep.
Timing's everything.
I am still learning, Coach. I'm still learning on that. That is good. That is good.
Oh,
Well, your reward for getting into the big dance was you got to play Louisiana State, LSU.
right. We had a heck of a game with them. I mean, it was a great game. I can't remember. I think we lost by 1. We might have lost by 3, but it was really
It was a
a close game, and we were ahead.
64-61, and they scored with 18 seconds left on a three-pointer to take the lead.
Wow.
That's right. And we made really a bad mistake. It was the play just before the 15 seconds. They shot. We got the rebound, and we turned the wrong way. The ball out of my player's hand and laid it in. And had we kept that rebound, we were 1 up. Then they would have had to foul us, and you never know. But that's part of the game of basketball.
Yeah.
They had a guy named Stromile Swift on that team.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow.
think
Yeah.
he was drafted early in the first round.
He
I
was.
can't remember. They also had a 6'10" kid named Smith that was drafted, I think, late in the first round. I'm not sure of that.
Jabari Smith.
Jabari Smith, that's him.
Wow.
And they had a great team. They were really good. They were a 4 seed, and we were a 13 seed.
They were co-champs of the SEC that year, LSU.
Yeah, you're right.
So that was a tough loss, but you showed out great in that game.
Oh, that was really a tough loss. For some reason, anyway, we would have played Texas next if we had played. For some reason, I just really felt like we could beat Texas. Of course, I'd watched some film on them before we ever went there, knowing the brackets. But anyway, we didn't get that opportunity.
LSU went on to beat them, so you really had a good shot.
Yeah.
Compared to
LSU beat them. LSU beat them pretty good too. So
yeah, by this time you'd had some success building programs. Jeremy here has been here for 13 years.
Yeah, 10 years as head coach, and yeah, we're up there at 200 something.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so, well,
that's very good. Yeah.
Sometimes I think that, and then I read how many wins you have, Coach, and I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can get anywhere near that. But
when I was at Trenton, we had some great rivalries. I mean, Moberly and State Fair and Penn Valley.
Yeah,
they developed into just great rivalries. Well, now here I'm getting ready to tell another story. I had a kid named Bill Presley that played for me.
Okay.
And he was really a good player, but we're playing Penn Valley at home.
Yeah.
And it's a close game. And anyway, this kid, he hit Bill pretty hard. And anyway, so I knew Bill, and Bill wasn't going to back down from anybody. So I called the timeout really quick. And I said, Bill, we want to win the game. Do you understand me? We want to win the game, and then you cannot get a technical out there and cost us this game. And I said, no, well, you promised me that. And he said, yes, I will, Coach. So we win the game, and I look up, and Bill's chasing that guy around the floor with his fist, but he didn't catch him. So,
well, that's probably good. Okay. Was Fred Pullman coaching at Penn Valley at the time?
Yes.
Did he have his cowboy hat on?
Well, not when he coached.
Not when he coached. Okay, I always heard stories about Coach Pullman. He always had a cowboy hat on and stuff.
Yeah, he wore a cowboy hat a lot.
I'm sure
one player I've got to mention that he was really special. I wouldn't say he was a great player, but his name was Bob Weber, and he was there my first year there
at Trenton.
At Trenton. We still stay in touch. In fact, he came to see us this last year in Des Moines, and we had a good time with him.
Well, that's great.
But I couldn't believe I had a player 70 years old or in his 70s.
Right.
That is great. Yeah, that's neat.
You can't make him do any more wind sprints, I don't think, on the basketball floor. So
no,
yeah.
In fact, I had a couple of my former players at Drake that are out in Phoenix or California now or something. They just sent me a text yesterday, and I text back to them saying, and they were sitting on this outside bar, I'm sure, drinking a liquid. Let's not say what it was. But I said, boy, sure looks like you guys are having fun. And they said, well, we sure didn't have any fun at your practices.
They deserve that drink after.
Yeah, after going through those practices and all that. And so, yeah.
I've said this before that as a coach, I admit that I enjoy the sound of just breathing in the gym. And that's all I hear. I don't hear any of the talking. I don't hear anything.
I just want to hear you panting.
It's working.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you kind of got to a crossroads after SEMO, and you did a little coaching in the G League, and you coached.
Yeah, I went to Des Moines, Iowa, was assistant coach in the G League. It was the D League then, the developmental league. Now they call it's the G League. I think Gatorade has gotten involved. That was really a good experience,
Tell my peers who you coached with there. He's kind of well known.
Nick Nurse, he's the head coach at Philadelphia 76ers now. He was head coach of the Toronto Raptors.
They won the championship.
He's doing pretty dang good.
He won a championship. He's really a good coach.
Nice. And you were with him there? With the Iowa team?
Wow. In Iowa for 2 years.
Okay.
That was a great experience, but coaching pro players is really different, and especially in the G League. They all feel like they're one step away from playing in the NBA, and they're fighting hard to play in the NBA. And sometimes, they would forget about that winning is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel as comfortable there. So I was at the age then, I was 65, that I just decided I wanted to go to a small college and finish my career. Well, I really thought when I went to Dakota State, that I told Barb, I said, hon, we're only going to be here 3 or 4 years now. So, but
as she laughs in the background.
Yeah, wound up being there for 14 years.
Wow.
And had some great times, had some really good teams. And I've really enjoyed every place I've been. Just, but I think sometimes your early days are ones that you have the most fond memories of. And Trenton Junior College and, naturally Fort Hays State, but just really fond memories of those places.
I've got a question, if you don't mind talking about this step. In 2017, you had some major health issues with cancer.
Oh yeah, that's probably in the long run what got me out of coaching. But yeah, I had pancreatic cancer. They took all of my pancreas and all of my gallbladder and all of my spleen and part of my stomach and part of my colon.
Wow.
And part of my small intestine. Yeah. And then I had a portal thing that was serious, and they had given me a 2 or 3% chance to live. And I tricked them and beat them though. So.
Well, coaches love to hear that you only got a 2 or 3% chance, because that means you have a chance, right? And you
That's
go.
right.
That's right. And you go for it, right? We can make it happen.
My wife has told this story. One of her very best friends is here in Des Moines, Vicki Jacobs, and she was talking to Vicki on the phone and telling her that it had only given me a 2 or 3% chance to live. And Vicki Jacobs said, "Well, why can't that be good?" You know. And she was right.
And that's probably the biggest win of your life, right there. So,
boy, that's true. That was a tough time, but got through it good and feel good today and in good health today. So.
Excellent. You know, there's a book about Coach Don Meyer, How Lucky You Can Be. I don't know if you've read that book or ran across him, but there's some parallels with your career, ending up out in the Dakotas, for one thing,
right,
coaching basketball, and just the love of the players and the relationship over decades.
Oh, that's so great. The love of your players and loving to coach. You know, if you're going to stay in coaching, you have to have a great passion for what you do. I just absolutely loved coaching. I thought it was the good. Now, there were times that I wished I'd gone into something else.
Yeah.
investment banking.
Sure,
That's what I always think about. Investment banking. Why did I miss that one?
Yeah. Well, you know, Coach, I think it's a testament to you and what you developed. We had so many guys excited, and of course the weather didn't cooperate. We just had so many guys excited to come back and see you, and hopefully we still get that opportunity at times. But I'm going to just kind of read off a list of names of guys that were going to come back, and just proud of TJC and proud of playing for you and all that stuff. That Randy Bland has done a great job of kind of organizing that, and I hope they're still going to show up this weekend. But Brent Cook, Russell Bland, Randy Bland, Bruce Hubert, Howie Moffitt, Jeff Stewart's coming back.
He is. Jeff coming back.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. Donnie Fordyce, Jackie Payne. And then I think one of your student managers, Dave Fairchild, as well. And stuff.
Oh, sure.
And so,
now I can tell you some stories about David Fairchild that I can't tell.
Well, I'm gonna have to call you separately then, Coach, because my two best friends are his sons, Wally and Sully Fairchild, and so
right?
I grew up next door to Dave, and he obviously taught me a lot. You know, he's a very successful football coach and taught me a lot, and I think he learned a lot from you when he was up here and stuff. So but hopefully some of those names resonate. Oh, he is, and he comes to a lot of our games. But really good guy, a really good coach. And I think that's a testament to what started up here at TJC.
Yeah, I really liked him. Really liked him.
I'm going to play you a quote and then just ask you to sum it up for me just a little bit here. And this quote was, after your battle with cancer, they asked you about what got you back in the gym like 2.5 months after your surgery. And you said, "I don't play golf or hunt or fish or any of those things." You said, "Family comes first, of course, then it's basketball, coaching. It's all I want to do."
That's very true. My life revolved around two things, my family and basketball. And I would not want to change a thing. Just absolutely not about my career and about, family and basketball, because it's, both have been so good to me. I'm just very proud of my family too.
I can only imagine over the decades, because I literally walk around town and I got kids that I coach that are now out of high school, and I coached them as junior high kids, and just they walk up to you and say, "Hey, how you doing, Coach?" And there's just a feeling about that's unique. It's a unique relationship.
No special about it. I've got to tell you this. When I was at Dakota State for 14 years, of course, my kids were all gone. My boys were gone, grown up and gone. Well, one was my assistant at Dakota State, but my wife went on every road trip except one, and that was because of a funeral. We had some long road trips now.
Wow. Oh, I bet.
A lot of her friends asked her how crazy she was. But anyway,
probably some cold road trips up there too,
oh,
Coach.
Cold. Oh, we'd get to We were on one road trip, and our bus broke down, and it was 29 degrees below zero.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
was up in North Dakota, yeah.
That bus was telling you something. You shouldn't have been out in that stuff.
That's right. Oh.
Coach, I was just going to say, you or your teams are in several Hall of Fames, including North Central Missouri College Athletics Hall of Fame. And I'm ringing a bell right now. You should be in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, I'd love to be in that. One of my really good friends, Billy Barton at State Fair, was just inducted Sunday.
Wow.
So.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a two-time All-State player from West Plains. You started at the University of Missouri, coached at the University of Missouri and Trenton Junior College, coached at Southeast Missouri, and won 562 games in your 50-year career. That is absolutely worthy, and I want to thank you for joining us and sharing your story about family and basketball.
Coach, it sure was nice spending this hour with you. Congratulations on all your accomplishments.
It was very nice for you guys to have me. I've looked forward to this, and I only wish I could be down there. But, when I said family and then basketball, my grandson's very busy on February the 7th playing.
Sounds like they need some North Central offers, Coach.
There you go.
We'll have to get up there and, we'll have to get up there and watch them.
There you go. So I'm decided to stay here and watch them play that weekend.
Well, one of these days, if we can pull this off and get some of your players in the room, I'll just throw down some microphones, let you guys just tell some stories, and that'll be a lot of fun.
That'd be great. I'd love to come down there and see them too.
Yeah, we certainly understand.
I would love to see those guys. So many of them I haven't seen Brent Cook, and he was a good player.
Yeah.
He was also a pretty good punter. I think he punted for the St. Louis Cardinal football when they were in St. Louis.
I think I did know that, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he punted when he was at Missouri Southern after I left, and he was really a good athlete and a good shooter. He could shoot the ball about 6'4" and had a great physique and was tougher than heck.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for joining us tonight and telling us some great stories, and I'll be in touch with you when we get this published and out so you can listen in and set the record straight or anything with your friends if we got anything wrong here. But I just love talking to you, and I wish you all the best, and hope you get through the winter fine, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet. Bye-bye now.
Okay, fellas, that's some basketball talk.
A lot of name drops tonight, and one thing that always amazes me when we talk to coaches who have been around a long time and seen a lot of gyms and a lot of other coaches is there's a ton of schools out there, high school, junior college, D3, D2, D1, and so many opportunities, but yet it always feels like the coaching fraternity itself is small.
Yeah.
That all the coaches know each other and they can name each other and they've learned from each other and got to compete against each other. And to hear some of those coaches that he got to coach against and players was a great testament to his legacy and all the basketball that he's had an impact on.
Jeremy?
Yeah,
you still got about 40 years of road ahead of you if you take his road.
Wow. This is just super impressive, and just appreciate you guys for including me on this because, I tell people all the time, I hear Gary Garner's name at least once a week around Trenton. So, just the legacy he built here in 7 years is special, and I'm pretty confident he did that for Hays State at SEMO and all that. And it's really neat and just cool to hear all his stories and how passionate he is.
It was a lot of fun. We love talking about it. And we're just going to sign out and thank our listeners for listening to Show Me Sports Legacies.